Initiating moisture.
What the fuck's poppin'? How's that ass smellin'? Welcome to the Boku no Moist Meter. Today we're looking at the very popular anime series My Hero Academia, or Boku no Hero Academia as it's known in Japanese, which directly translates to My Penis Only Gets Hard for Anime Titties. Now, Boku no Hero Academia just finished its third season, so I figured I'd do a moist meter for the show thus far. Full disclosure, I haven't read the manga. I don't really read manga anymore. When I was younger, I was a bit of a manga maniac, but not anymore. As I began to grow older and evolve into this mountain of masculinity you see before you today, I started sprouting more hair on my chest and my nipples, and I discovered I much prefer seeing the content come to life in animation as opposed to just a flat page. Now, My Hero Academia is a great fucking show. It's a show about Deku, who is a quirkless hero in a world where quirks mean everything. Everyone has one. It's very rare that you don't have one. Quirks are superpowers, basically. The whole world has superpowers to different degrees, and the whole society is built around the idea of being protected by heroes, one in particular, All Might. And the show is about All Might losing his powers but passing it down to Deku, and Deku rising up to become the world's best hero and save the world from evil and villains and shit like that. It's not a unique concept or anything like that. It's not like fucking Isaac Newton was revived from the dead, and instead of proposing gravity, he instead proposed the My Hero Academia anime plot. It's not deep, but it's fucking fun, and it's a lot of fun to watch unfold with really interesting characters that are well designed with some really imaginative superpowers, quirks. And it leads to a lot of fun fights between hero versus hero, hero versus villain. It's always a joy when the show gives you a fun fight to watch, because the animation is second to none and the fights are fucking great. And each fight is always accompanied by an even greater soundtrack. This show has some fucking bangers. I love listening to the soundtrack of the show even when not watching it, which I don't do for many things. It just really makes you feel empowered, like you want to fucking punch your ass through a wall or something. Like you want to take your fist and just jam it through 15 inches of pure adamantium vibranium concrete. It just makes you feel strong as fuck, like a hero like them. And that's when the show's at its best, when they have this climactic fight, All Might versus a super big tough villain, or a hero, Deku, versus Kachan or something. Just a fun fight to watch unfold. That's when the show's at its best. But there's a lot of points in the show where it really hangs and it's a very clear filler. I'm all for character building. I love that character building, feel good shit to put some butterflies in your butthole. I'm all for that. But this show really sometimes misses the mark in that department. There's no better example than Season 3. The second half of Season 3 is downright just awful, almost insufferable to me. First half I thought was great, but the second half, right when they start doing the provisional licensing shit, I just lost so much interest in even bothering finishing the season. Obviously I did because I love the show as a whole, and I know it gets better, but it was just so boring. The provisional licensing thing was, the heroes, the main cast of characters, they have to go through this test to get a license to be able to use their powers like the professional heroes do. That's very low stakes, and the tests weren't fun to watch. It was, you have to talk to some, survivors of a tragedy. Okay, that's cool. Okay, you talk to them. Great. You kind of fight some people. Not really. Okay, that's not really fun to watch. That was the whole thing. It's just this low stakes, no fun shit. It didn't really build characters. I guess kind of did here and there, but it just wasn't enjoyable. It was really boring and just so trivial. It just seemed like very clear filler, and it seemed absolutely unnecessary. Like, fuck the provisional license. Just skip that whole thing. I like how they introduced new characters from other schools instead of just having the primary school UA steal the spotlight. They had other schools come in. You saw some really cool quirks from them, but I'm sure they could have found a better way of doing that instead of like a dodgeball match, a fucking tag match. That's just so fucking boring. And there's other points like that in the series, but Season 3, that arc dragged on way too long, much longer than it should have. If it was like 2 or 3 episodes where they built all that up, that'd be totally fine. I'd be on board with that and I would have probably enjoyed it. But when they stretch it out like that, they make it like a fucking Dragon Ball Z fight where you're powering up, where you're just dodging dodgeballs for 2 episodes, it's boring. No one wants to watch that. Another thing I think this show really misses on sometimes is inspiration. And what I mean by that is there's at least 10 times per season, 10 to 15 times per season where Deku, he starts crying, he starts feeling down, but then one word changes his perspective. He gets inspired. And then the music picks up in this crescendo like, yes, I am inspired now because you told me about it. Yes, I am strong. And then he does that 10, 15 times. The exact same inner monologue, the exact same fucking trigger word every time. Like, how many times do you get inspired, motherfucker? Are you kidding me? Like, every time someone farts, this man finds new inspiration. Like, it's way too often, it's not always Daiki, but it's way too often someone gets inspired by one single word, and it goes through the same monologue and the same exact scenario and the same, feel good, I'm strong, I'm unique, I'm special type deal. You can't, it really blows its load way too many times with that angle. That's like some traditional generic anime cliche thing, I understand, but it's overdone. It's at least 10 to 15 times per season, and it's just way too much. And each time it happens, you kind of laugh and smile because it's cute, but fuck, does it get old. It really overstays its welcome. The show, though, as a whole, I think is great. I love the villains. I think the villains in the show are so fucking strong. Right now, you don't know a whole lot about them in the show, so they're a bit two-dimensional, but they're so fucking cool. And one of the main villains, Stain, I thought was just a really strong character overall. It's a villain that you can almost root for and side with. You might not approve of his methods, but you understand his message. And it's just, everything about the villain side of the show is great. Heroes as well. It's just, there's no characters in the show that I think are super fucking weak or awful or anything. And there's not a whole lot of moments in the show where I think the action misses its mark or the story misses its mark. It's just specific episodes or themes I think fall short. So let's just go ahead and plug this shit into the moist meter. I'm giving My Hero Academia an 85%. I think this is an anime that you absolutely should watch. It lives up to the hype. I think it is a very enjoyable one. It's just a fucking blast to watch all around, in my opinion. So yeah, that's it. See ya.